The two words I am about to share with you are not to be spoken lightly. They are not to be shared carelessly. For in these two words lies the key to unlocking the infinite potential of your imagination, the power to manifest anything you desire. Now you might be wondering, Neville, what are these two words? How can mere words have such power? And therein lies the crux of our discussion today. The power of these words lies not in their sound or their spelling, but in the state of consciousness they evoke when properly understood and applied. The two words are simply this: I am. Yes, I am. These two words, when used with understanding and feeling, contain within them the power to reshape your entire reality. For you see, whatever follows I am in your thoughts and speech becomes your reality. It is the gateway through which you define yourself and your world. But remember, I cautioned you not to tell anyone. This is not because this knowledge is to be hoarded or kept secret out of selfishness. No, it is because the power of these words is deeply personal. It is a power that must be experienced, not merely heard about. It is a truth that must be lived, not simply intellectualized. Now, let us delve deeper into how to use these two powerful words to manifest anything you want. The key lies in understanding that I am is not just a statement. It is a declaration of being. When you say I am, you are defining your state of consciousness, and your state of consciousness is the lens through which you experience and create your reality. Consider for a moment, how often do you unconsciously use these words in a way that limits you? I am tired, I am broke, I am unlucky in love. Each time you make such a statement, you are impressing upon your subconscious mind a state of being that it must then outpicture in your world. But here's the liberating truth. You have the power to consciously choose what follows I am. You have the ability to define your state of being in alignment with your desires. This, my friends, is the key to manifesting anything you want. So how do we begin this process of conscious creation through the power of I am? The first step is to clearly define what you wish to manifest. What is it that you truly desire? Be specific. Don't simply say I am rich. Instead, declare I am abundantly provided for in all areas of my life. Don't just say I am in a relationship. Instead, affirm I am in a loving, fulfilling partnership that brings out the best in me. Once you have your clear declaration, the next step is to feel the reality of words. This is crucial. You must feel the truth of your I am statement now, not in some distant future. Remember, your subconscious mind doesn't understand time. It only understands the present moment. So if you say I am but feel that it's not true yet, you're sending mixed signals to your subconscious. Instead, as you declare your I am statement, allow yourself to feel the reality of it. How would you feel if your declaration were already true? Would you feel joyful, confident, free, grateful? Embody these feelings, live from this state of being. This is not pretending or lying to yourself. This is assuming a new state of consciousness, which is the very essence of creation. Now, some of you may be thinking, but Neville, how can I feel something that isn't yet true? This is where the power of your imagination comes into play. Your imagination is the bridge between your current reality and your desired state. It is through your imagination that you can step into the feeling of your I am statement, even before it manifests in the physical world. Your imagination is not a flight of fancy or a frivolous faculty. It is the very workshop wherein you fashion your future. When you imagine, you are experiencing reality at its most fundamental level. You are engaging with the pure potential of consciousness, shaping it with your attention and your assumption. To use your imagination effectively in conjunction with your I am statements, you must first quiet your conscious mind. The chattering of your daily thoughts, your worries, your doubts, these must be silenced. Enter a state of relaxation, a state akin to sleep, but in which you remain consciously aware. In this state, your subconscious mind becomes more receptive to impression. Once in this relaxed state, Declare your I am statement. Feel its truth. Then construct a scene that implies the fulfillment of this statement. If your statement is, I am abundantly provided for, you might imagine yourself looking at a bank statement with a large balance, or making a significant purchase with ease and joy. If your statement is, I am in perfect health, imagine yourself engaging in activities that demonstrate vibrant health and vitality. The scene itself should be short and simple. It's not about creating an elaborate story, but about capturing a moment that implies your I am statement is now a fact. This scene is your platform, the stage upon which you would enact the feeling of your words fulfilled. Now step into this scene. Don't watch it as a spectator, but experience it from the first-person perspective. Be there in that moment. And as you experience it, let the feeling of fulfillment wash over you. Feel the gratitude, the joy, the satisfaction of your I am statement realized. This is where many falter in their attempts at manifestation. They can see the scene clearly, but they fail to evoke the feeling. Remember, it is the feeling that gives life to your words and your imaginal act. Without feeling, your I am statement and visualization are merely mental exercises. With feeling, they become acts of creation. As you practice this, you may find that the feeling comes more easily with repetition. Each time you declare your I am statement and return to your scene, the feeling becomes more vivid, more real. This is good. You are strengthening the impression upon your subconscious mind. But here's a crucial point. Once you have evoked the feeling, once you have impressed it upon your subconscious, you must carry it with you into your waking life. This is where many stumble. They do their I am exercise, they feel it intensely in the moment, but then they return to their daily life and fall back into old patterns of thought and feeling. To manifest anything you want, to truly harness the power of I am, you must maintain the feeling of your words fulfilled, even in the face of contradictory evidence. This is where faith comes in. Not blind faith, but faith born of understanding. Understanding that your outer world is a reflection of your inner state. When you truly grasp this, you will no longer be swayed by appearances. You will know that what you see around you is the effect, not the cause. The cause lies in your consciousness, in your feeling. And as you persist in the feeling of your I am statement fulfilled, your outer world must reshape itself to match this inner conviction. Now let us address a common challenge in using the power of I am, the apparent contradictions of your senses. As you begin to live in the feeling of your words fulfilled, you may find that your current circumstances seem to contradict your statement. How do you maintain your feeling in the face of these seeming contradictions? This is where the art of ignoring comes into play. To ignore is not to deny the existence of something, but to refrain from giving it your attention and energy. When contradictory evidence appears, acknowledge it briefly. Then immediately return your attention to the feeling of your I am statement fulfilled. Remember, what you see in your outer world is the result of past assumptions, past feelings. It is like an echo of what you once believed. Your task now is to give more attention, more importance, more reality to your new I am statement than to these outdated circumstances. This practice requires mental discipline. It requires you to stand firm in your new assumption even when your senses argue against it. But remember, your senses only show you what has been, not what can be. Your imagination, informed by your I am statement, shows you what will be. As you persist in maintaining the feeling of your words fulfilled, even in the face of contradictory evidence, you will begin to see changes in your outer world. These changes may start small, a fortunate coincidence, an unexpected opportunity, a shift in someone's behavior towards you. Do not dismiss these as mere chance. They are the first fruits of your new assumption taking root. Now let us delve deeper into the nature of feeling in using the power of I am. When I speak of feeling, I am not referring merely to emotions, though emotions play a part. I am speaking of a deeper sense, a knowing, an unshakable conviction. It is the difference between saying I am successful and knowing in the very core of your being, I am successful. This feeling conviction is not something you can fake or force. It arises naturally when you have successfully impressed your I am statement upon your subconscious mind. This is why the repeated use of your imagination is so crucial. Each time you declare your statement and step into the feeling of it fulfilled, you are deepening this impression. Think of it like wearing a groove in a record. The first time you play the record, the needle may skip and jump. But with repeated plays, the groove deepens and the music plays smoothly. Similarly, as you repeat your I am statement and imagine or act, the feeling becomes more natural, more habitual. It becomes your dominant state. This is the state from which creation occurs. When you can maintain this feeling conviction throughout your day, when it becomes as natural as breathing, you have mastered the art of conscious creation through the power of I am. Your outer world has no choice but to conform to this inner state. But what of those moments when doubt creeps in? When fear arises? When the old patterns of thought and feeling try to reassert themselves? These moments are inevitable, especially in the beginning of your practice. Do not be discouraged by them. Instead, see them as opportunities to strengthen your new assumption. When doubt arises, do not fight it. Fighting against a thought only gives it more power. Instead, gently but firmly return to your I am statement and the feeling of it fulfilled. Remind yourself that what you see around you is the past. Your new statement, your new feeling is creating your future. This brings us to another crucial aspect of using the power of I am. The concept of living in the end. Living in the end means assuming the feeling of your words fulfilled in your day-to-day life. It's not enough to declare your I am statement for a few minutes each day and then return to your old patterns of thought and feeling. You must carry the feeling of your words fulfilled with you throughout your day. This doesn't mean you deny your current circumstances. Rather, you acknowledge them briefly, then immediately return to the feeling of your I am statement fulfilled. You live from the assumption that what you have declared is already true. For example, if your statement is I am abundantly wealthy, you would feel the security, freedom, and joy of wealth as you go about your day. When you make purchases, you would feel the ease and confidence of someone who has more than enough. When you interact with others, you would carry yourself with the assurance of a wealthy person. Living in the end requires a shift in your entire way of being. It's not about pretending or play acting. It's about genuinely assuming a new state of consciousness. When you do this effectively, you'll find that your actions naturally align with your assumed state, accelerating the manifestation process. Now, let us address the role of action in using the power of I am. Some people mistakenly believe that manifesting means they can simply declare their I am statement and then sit back and wait for their desires to magically appear. This is not the case. Using the power of I am does not negate action, it informs action. When you successfully impress your statement upon your subconscious mind, when you truly feel it as real, you will be inspired to take actions that align with this state. These actions will feel natural, even inevitable. They will not be driven by fear or lack, but will flow from your assumed state of fulfillment. This is a crucial distinction. When you take action from a place of lack, trying to get what you desire, you are actually affirming the assumption of not having it. But when you take action from the assumption of already being what your I am statement declares, You open yourself to infinite possibilities for its expression and expansion. So do not neglect action, but ensure that your actions are aligned with and flowing from your assumed state. Let your feeling guide your actions rather than hoping your actions will create the feeling. This alignment of inner state and outer action is key to manifesting anything you want. Now let us explore the concept of detachment in relation to using the power of IAM. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care about your desire. Rather, it means you're not anxiously attached to seeing immediate results or figuring out how your desire will manifest. When you're truly living in the end, you can declare your I am statement and feel its reality without constantly looking for signs of its manifestation. You trust in the process, knowing that as you maintain the feeling of your words fulfilled, they must inevitably express themselves in your outer world. Detachment allows you to live in the present moment while holding your assumed state. It frees you from the anxiety and doubt that can slow down the manifestation process. It allows you to enjoy the journey of manifestation rather than being solely focused on the destination. Practice detachment by reminding yourself that your I am statement, imbued with feeling, is the reality. What you see in the outer world is just a shadow, a reflection of past assumptions. As you persist in your new assumption, this shadow must change to match the new reality you're imagining and feeling. Let us now address the importance of gratitude in using the power of I am. Gratitude is not just a pleasant emotion. It is a powerful creative force. When you feel genuinely grateful, you are affirming that you already have what you desire. This aligns perfectly with the principle of living in the end. Begin to cultivate an attitude of gratitude for your I am statement, even before you see it manifested in your physical reality. Be thankful for it as if it were already true. Feel appreciation for the abundance that surrounds you in all forms, the air you breathe, the sun that shines, the food you eat. As you practice gratitude, you are assuming the state of someone who has their I am statement fulfilled. This assumption, persistently held, must manifest in your outer world as the realization of your words. Now, let us explore the power of revision in using I am. Revision is not merely about changing your memories or rewriting your past. It is about recognizing that the past only exists in your mind, and therefore it can be changed in your mind. At the end of each day, take a few moments to review the events of your day. If there were any events that were not in alignment with your I am statement, revise them in your imagination. See them unfolding in a way that aligns with your words. Feel the satisfaction, the joy, the fulfillment of this revised version of events. By doing this, you are not denying what physically happened. You are changing the impact of that event on your subconscious mind. You are impressing upon your subconscious a reality that aligns with your I am statement, rather than one that contradicts it. As you make this practice of revision a habit, you will find that your reactions to current events begin to change. You will become less reactive, more peaceful, more aligned with your desired states of being. This alignment accelerates the manifestation process. Let us now discuss the importance of persistence in using the power of I am. While we speak of manifesting anything you want, it's important to understand that the speed of manifestation can vary. Some desires may manifest almost instantly, while others may take more time to fully materialize in your physical reality. The key is to persist in your assumption, regardless of how long it seems to be taking. Remember, the outer world is a reflection of your inner state. If you waver in your assumption, if you lose faith in the process, you send mixed signals to your subconscious mind, which can slow down the manifestation process. Persistence doesn't mean forcing or struggling. It means consistently returning to your I am statement and the feeling of it fulfilled, even when the outer world seems to contradict it. It means choosing again and again to live from the end to embody the state of your words realized. This persistence requires faith, not blind faith, but faith born of understanding. Understanding that your outer world is a reflection of your inner state, and that as you persist in your new assumption, your world must reshape itself to match it. Now let us address the role of self-concept in using the power of I am. Your self-concept, the beliefs you hold about who you are, is perhaps the most powerful factor in determining what you can manifest in your life. Many people struggle to manifest their desires because their self-concept contradicts what they're trying to achieve. They may declare, I am wealthy, but deep down they don't believe they're the kind of person who can be wealthy. They may state, I am loved, but fundamentally believe they're unworthy of love. To use the power of I am effectively, you must be willing to revise your self-concept. This involves not just declaring your I am statement, but truly feeling and being it as your core identity. It's not about creating a false image of yourself, but about recognizing and embracing your true limitless nature. Remember, at your core, you are pure consciousness. You are not defined by your past experiences, your current circumstances, or the opinions of others. You are the awareness in which all these things appear. And this awareness, your true self, is infinite in its potential. As you use your I am statements to assume your desired states, you are essentially recreating yourself. You are stepping into a new concept of self, a new understanding of who you are and what's possible for you. This revision of self-concept is crucial for using the power of I am effectively. As you align your self-concept with your desires, you remove the inner contradictions that can slow down the manifestation process. Now, let us explore the role of emotion in using the power of I am. Emotion is the fuel that powers your statements. It's not enough to merely say the words. You must feel them. When you combine your I am declaration with genuine emotion, you create a powerful impression on your subconscious mind. This is because your subconscious responds more strongly to feeling than to intellectual thought. The emotions you want to cultivate are those you would feel if your I am statement were already realized. If your statement is, I am wealthy, feel the security, the freedom, the joy that comes with financial abundance. If it's, I am loved, feel the love, the connection, the companionship. These emotions should be so real, so intense, that when you open your eyes and return to your present circumstances, you carry with you a sense of fulfillment, as if your words have already been realized. This emotional component is what distinguishes effective use of I am from mere positive affirmations or wishful thinking. When you can genuinely feel your words as an accomplished fact, you are impressing them upon your subconscious mind as a reality. Your subconscious then works tirelessly to bring this feeling into physical manifestation. As we near the conclusion of our exploration, remember this: the power to manifest anything you want lies within you. It resides in your ability to use these two simple words, I am, with understanding and feeling. The secret to manifestation is not determined by external factors, but by the intensity of your belief and the consistency of your practice. Go forth from here with this knowledge. Apply these principles in your daily life. Use your I am statements consciously and deliberately to create the reality you desire. Feel the truth of your words with every fiber of your being. Persist in this feeling, even when your senses deny it. For as you do, you are reshaping your entire world, manifesting your desires with a speed and precision that might seem miraculous to others. Remember, you are the operant power in your world. You are limited only by your ability to imagine and to feel the reality of your I am statements. Embrace this truth. Live from this understanding and watch as your world transforms around you, reflecting the newfound mastery of your creative power. Thank you. And may your journey of conscious creation through the power of I am be filled with joy, wonder, and the thrill of manifesting your deepest desires. Go now and create the life you've always dreamed of, for you are the master of your destiny. the author of your reality.
In the silence of your heart, there is a truth that resonates louder than any voice. God's plan for you is unshakable. Life may throw its fiercest storms, people may try to dim your light, and circumstances may attempt to block your path, but nothing can halt the divine orchestration of God's will in your life. His plan is not dependent on human approval, nor is it swayed by the opinion of peers or actions of others. It is rooted in His infinite wisdom and boundless love. When challenges arise, it is easy to feel forgotten or lost. You may wonder if the setbacks you face are signs of failure or abandonment. But remember, the obstacles in your way are not detours away from God's purpose, they are stepping stones. They are tools He uses to refine your character, strengthen your faith, and prepare you for the blessings He has already set aside for you. No trial is wasted when it is surrendered to God. There are moments when people may doubt you, criticize you, or even stand against you. Their words may sting, and their actions may seem to delay your progress. But let this truth settle in your soul: no weapon formed against you will prosper, because God's hand is upon you. The same God who parted the Red Sea, who raised Lazarus from the dead, and who conquered death itself, is the one who has written your destiny. His plan does not falter because of human interference. He has already accounted for every challenge, every delay, and every mistake. You are not defined by your past or limited by your present. God sees the full picture. He knows the dreams He has placed in your heart, and He knows the right time and way to bring them to fruition. Trust that His timing is perfect. It may not always align with your expectations, but it is always for your good. When doors close, it's not because you are unworthy, it's because He has something far greater waiting for you. When delays occur, it's not because you are forgotten, it's because He is aligning circumstances in ways you cannot yet see. Faith is the anchor that holds you steady as you wait. It is the assurance that even when you cannot see the path ahead, the one who leads you sees it all. It is the confidence that His promises are not empty and His plans are not fragile. Stand firm in that faith. Speak life over your dreams, even when doubt whispers otherwise. Declare God's truth over your journey, even when the road feels uncertain. Your life is not a series of random events, it is a masterpiece in progress. Every brushstroke of joy and sorrow, every layer of triumph and trial is part of a grand design. God is the artist, and He is not finished yet. Trust Him to complete the work He has started in you. He is the author of your story, and no one else holds the pen. When fear tries to paralyze you, when disappointment tries to dishearten you, and when uncertainty tries to discourage you, remind yourself of this: God's plan for you cannot be stopped. Not by people, not by circumstances, and not by anything in this world. His love is your foundation, His grace is your strength, and His purpose for your life is unshakable. God's plan is unshakable. This truth is a foundation that cannot be moved, no matter the storms or challenges that arise in life. His plan is rooted in eternity, crafted with love and wisdom that surpasses human understanding. It is not something fragile or uncertain, nor is it influenced by the circumstances we see or the opinions of others. God's plan is like a mighty river, flowing with purpose and power, carving a path even through the hardest of obstacles. The world often presents us with a narrative that we must be in control of every detail of our lives, that our destiny depends solely on our efforts, or that unforeseen circumstances can derail our purpose. But this perspective is limited, for it fails to recognize the sovereignty of God. His plan for each of us was established long before we took our first breath. The scriptures remind us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." These words are not mere encouragement, they are a declaration of certainty, a promise that transcends the temporal and anchors us in the eternal. There may be moments in life when it feels like everything is falling apart, as if the dreams we've cherished are slipping through our fingers. Doors may close, opportunities may vanish, and paths may seem blocked. It's in these moments that the strength of God's plan becomes evident. What appears to be a setback is often a setup for something greater. The delays and detours we face are not the end of the story, but chapters in the unfolding masterpiece of our lives. God's plan is not contingent on the conditions of the world or the cooperation of others. He moves beyond human limitations, working all things together for the good of those who love Him. Doubt may whisper that you are unworthy, that you've made too many mistakes, or that your time has passed. But God's plan is not dependent on your perfection. His grace covers your imperfections, and His power is made perfect in your weakness. The Bible is filled with examples of ordinary people who, despite their flaws and failures, were used mightily by God. Moses doubted his ability to lead. David stumbled into sin, and Peter denied Christ. Yet their destinies were fulfilled because God's plan for their lives was unshakable. He doesn't call the perfect, He perfects the called. This unshakable plan is not just for the grand moments of life, but also for the quiet, everyday steps of faith. It is active in the big decisions and the small choices, in the victories and the struggles. Trusting in His plan means releasing the need to control, and instead embracing the assurance that He is in control. It is living with the confidence that no matter what happens, His purpose for your life will prevail. God's plan is not just a hope for tomorrow, it is a reality unfolding today. Nothing in heaven or on earth can stop it. Obstacles are often seen as barriers, as reasons to doubt or give up, but through the lens of faith, they become stepping stones. Every challenge, every difficulty, and every moment of resistance is an opportunity for growth and transformation. They are not meant to deter us, but to strengthen us, to refine our character, and to prepare us for the next stage of our journey. God allows these moments not as punishments, but as purposeful parts of His divine plan, shaping us into who we are meant to be. When we encounter obstacles, it is natural to feel frustrated or disheartened. We might question why things aren't going according to our expectations, or why we seem to face resistance at every turn. However, it is in these very moments that God's greater purpose is at work. Challenges teach us perseverance, deepen our faith, and remind us to rely not on our own strength, but on His. The story of Joseph in the Bible is a perfect example. Betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and wrongfully imprisoned, Joseph faced trial after trial. Yet every obstacle he encountered was a step closer to the fulfillment of God's promise. What others intended for harm, God used for good, positioning Joseph to save a nation. Obstacles also reveal our hidden strengths and abilities. Often it is only when we are pushed to our limits that we discover the depth of our resilience and the power of our faith. Challenges force us to step out of our comfort zones, to confront our fears, and to grow in ways we never thought possible. They remind us that we are not walking alone, that God is with us, guiding us through every trial. When David faced Goliath, it wasn't just a battle between a shepherd and a giant, it was a moment of preparation for the leadership and victories that lay ahead. The obstacles in David's life were stepping stones, building his courage, trust in God, and readiness to fulfill his destiny. It's also important to recognize that obstacles often redirect us to something better. What may feel like a failure or a closed door is often God's way of steering us toward a greater opportunity. We may not understand it at the time, but hindsight reveals how the challenges we faced were necessary steps on the path to our calling. Think of the Israelites wandering in the wilderness. What seemed like a delay was God's way of preparing them to enter the promised land. Without the lessons learned in the wilderness, they would not have been ready to claim their inheritance. Obstacles demand trust. They require us to believe that God's plan is greater than our understanding, and that every step, even the difficult ones, is part of His purpose. They remind us to lean into His strength, to keep moving forward even when the way seems unclear. The very challenges that seem to block our path are often the tools God uses to shape us, elevate us, and propel us toward His perfect plan. Human interference cannot alter God's divine will. This truth is both reassuring and empowering because it reminds us that no person, no decision, and no opposition can derail the plans that God has set in motion. His authority is absolute and his purposes are immovable. While people may attempt to hinder, delay, or even work against you, their actions are never outside the bounds of God's sovereignty. What God has ordained for your life will come to pass, regardless of human attempts to disrupt it. People may try to discourage you, diminish your confidence, or convince you that you are unworthy of what God has in store. They may judge you based on your past, misunderstand your intentions, or resist your progress. Yet none of this can undo what God has already decided. His plans are not subject to public opinion or reliant on human approval. When God opens a door, no one can shut it. When He declares a promise over your life, no amount of opposition can nullify it. This truth was evident in the life of Jesus, whose mission faced relentless opposition. Despite the schemes of the Pharisees, the betrayal by Judas, and the disbelief of many, God's purpose was fulfilled. No human effort could stop the redemption of humanity through Christ. Sometimes the interference of others feels overwhelming. You may encounter betrayal, jealousy, or unfair treatment. It can feel as though people's actions are succeeding in holding you back. But remember, God is not surprised by any of it. He sees what you cannot see and knows what you do not know. He has already accounted for every challenge and every act of opposition. In fact, He can use these very things to advance His plan. What others mean for harm, God can transform into good. The story of Nehemiah rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem is a powerful example. Despite the ridicule and sabotage attempts from his enemies, the walls were completed because Nehemiah relied on God's guidance. Human interference could not stop the divine assignment. God's will is also independent of human cooperation. You don't need everyone to believe in you or support you for God's plan to succeed. He often works through unlikely circumstances and unexpected people. Consider how God used Moses, a man with a speech impediment, to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. Pharaoh resisted time and again, but God's plan prevailed. Similarly, God used Esther, a young Jewish woman, to save her people despite the schemes of Haman. Human efforts to thwart God's purpose only set the stage for His glory to be revealed. It is easy to feel discouraged when others misunderstand or oppose you. Yet these moments are opportunities to trust in God's higher ways. His plans are unstoppable, His power unmatched, and His wisdom unsearchable. What He has set in motion cannot be undone by human hands. People may try to interfere, but they are ultimately powerless against the will of the Almighty. Every attempt to block your progress only serves to magnify His ability to accomplish His purpose in your life. God's timing is perfect, a truth that often challenges our human perspective, but ultimately brings peace when we embrace it. In a world driven by deadlines, urgency, and instant gratification, waiting for God's timing can feel like a test of patience and faith. Yet His timing is not random or delayed, it is divinely orchestrated, unfolding in a way that aligns with His eternal plan and our ultimate good. Every moment, every event, and every season is precisely positioned in the timeline of our lives to fulfill His purpose. When we look at life through our limited lens, we often desire things immediately. We pray for breakthroughs, opportunities, or resolutions, expecting them to happen on our schedule. However, God operates outside of time as we know it. His view is infinite, and He sees the entirety of our lives, the beginning, the middle, and the end. What seems like a delay to us is often preparation in His divine plan. He is not only preparing the blessing, but also preparing us to receive it. Just as a seed must undergo time in the soil before it can grow into a flourishing plant, there are seasons of waiting that are necessary for our growth and readiness. In the Bible, the story of Abraham and Sarah illustrates the perfection of God's timing. They were promised a child, but that promise took years to be fulfilled. Their waiting period was not wasted, it was a time of learning, trusting, and deepening their relationship with God. When Isaac was finally born, it was evident that his arrival was not just about fulfilling a promise, but about showcasing God's faithfulness and sovereignty. Had the promise come immediately, the magnitude of God's work in their lives might have been overlooked. the waiting made the fulfillment even more powerful. God's timing is also protective. There are moments when we feel ready for something, but God, in His wisdom, knows we are not. He may withhold an opportunity, not as a denial, but as a safeguard. If we rush ahead of His plan, we may encounter challenges we are unprepared to face or misuse blessings that we are not yet equipped to handle. His timing ensures that we receive His gifts when they will be most impactful and beneficial, both for us and for those around us. Joseph's journey from the pit to the palace is a profound example. Though his dreams of leadership were real, he had to endure years of trials before stepping into his role. Each delay was part of God's perfect preparation. Trusting God's timing requires surrender. It means letting go of our desire to control and embracing the assurance that He is in control. It is an act of faith to believe that His delays are not denials and that His pace is purposeful. During the waiting seasons, we are called to remain faithful, to keep seeking Him, and to trust that He is working behind the scenes. His timing is never late, and it is always worth the wait. What He has planned for us will come to pass at exactly the right moment. Faith is the foundation of our trust in God's plan. It is the unwavering belief that even when we cannot see the path ahead, God is leading us exactly where we need to go. Faith goes beyond mere optimism or hope. It is the certainty that God is who He says He is and will do what He has promised. This kind of trust is not dependent on circumstances, but is anchored in God's unchanging nature. Faith is what enables us to walk forward, even in uncertainty, because we know that His plan is perfect. Faith often requires stepping into the unknown. It means choosing to believe in God's promises when the evidence around us seems to suggest otherwise. Abraham demonstrated this kind of faith when God called him to leave his homeland and go to a place he did not know. Abraham didn't have a map or a timeline, but he trusted in God's word and obeyed. His faith became the cornerstone of his relationship with God and the fulfillment of the covenant that would bless generations to come. Faith, then, is not about having all the answers, but about trusting the one who does. Life is filled with moments that test our faith. There are times when the way forward seems blocked, when prayers seem unanswered, and when the weight of challenges feels unbearable. In these moments, it is tempting to question God's plan or to rely on our own understanding. Yet faith calls us to surrender our doubts and trust in God's greater perspective. The story of Peter walking on water is a vivid example. When Peter focused on Jesus, he was able to do the impossible. But the moment he let fear and doubt take over, he began to sink. Faith keeps us anchored, even in the storm, reminding us that God is in control. Faith is not passive, it requires action. It is not simply believing in God's promises, but living as though they are already fulfilled. When we act in faith, we align ourselves with God's will and demonstrate our trust in His timing and provision. The woman with the issue of blood acted in faith when she reached out to touch Jesus' garment, believing she would be healed. Her faith was the catalyst for her miracle. In the same way, our faith moves us to take steps, even small ones, toward the promises God has placed before us. Faith also brings peace. When we trust in God's plan, we no longer feel the need to control every detail of our lives. We can rest in the assurance that He is working all things for our good. This peace doesn't mean the absence of trials, but the presence of God's comfort and guidance within them. Faith transforms our perspective, allowing us to see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow and deepen our reliance on God. Faith is the bridge between God's promises and their fulfillment. It is what allows us to walk forward with confidence, knowing that no matter what happens, God's plan for us is good, and His purposes will prevail. God's plans for us are filled with hope, purpose, and victory, even when life's circumstances suggest otherwise. At times, the challenges and trials we face can cloud our understanding of His intentions, leading us to question whether the difficulties we endure have any purpose. But God's plans are not only good, they are divinely crafted to bring us closer to Him and to fulfill His higher purpose for our lives. His promises remind us that He is always working for our ultimate good, even when we cannot see it. The promise of Jeremiah 29:11 echoes this truth. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. These words were spoken to the Israelites during a time of exile, a season of hardship and uncertainty. Yet even in that difficult moment, God assured them that their suffering was not the end of their story. He had a future of restoration and blessings waiting for them. This assurance is the same for us today. No matter where we find ourselves, God's plans are steadfast, filled with hope, and focused on our growth. Life may often present circumstances that feel anything but hopeful. Perhaps we face setbacks, losses, or prolonged seasons of waiting that leave us wondering if God's promises will ever be fulfilled. It is in these moments that we must cling to His word and trust in His character. God's goodness is not negated by our trials. On the contrary, He uses them to shape us, strengthen our faith, and prepare us for the greater things He has in store. The Apostle Paul understood this deeply when he wrote in Romans 8:28 that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. The victories that come from God's plans often emerge from what initially seems like defeat. The cross is the ultimate example of this. At the time, it appeared to be the end of Jesus' ministry, a moment of despair for His followers. But what looked like loss was actually the greatest victory in history. Through the cross, God's plan of redemption for humanity was fulfilled, proving that His ways are far higher and more powerful than we can comprehend. In our lives, too, what seems like failure or delay can be the groundwork for a divine breakthrough. God's plans also carry an eternal perspective, reminding us that our hope is not confined to this world. While His blessings are evident in our present lives, His ultimate goal is to draw us closer to Him and prepare us for eternity. The hope we find in His plans transcends temporary circumstances, grounding us in the assurance of His unchanging love. Every step of the journey, whether filled with joy or trials, is part of His perfect design for our lives. Even in the darkest moments, God's plans shine through with purpose and hope. His goodness, faithfulness, and promises are unshakable, giving us the strength to persevere, trust, and walk forward in confidence. The victory He has prepared for us is not just for today, it is for eternity, and it is certain. In the grand tapestry of life, God's plan is the thread that binds everything together with purpose, hope, and love. It is a plan that transcends our understanding, yet it is always for our good. Through His timing, His promises, and the unwavering assurance of His faithfulness, we are reminded that nothing, no obstacle, no delay, no challenge can hinder what He has ordained for us. Our role is to trust, to walk in faith, and to align ourselves with His will, knowing that He is always working behind the scenes. His plans are not just about achieving victories or receiving blessings, they are about transforming us, drawing us closer to Him, and fulfilling a purpose far greater than we can imagine. With God, we are never alone, never forgotten, and always on the path toward a hope-filled future. Let us hold fast to this truth, rest in His promises, and move forward with confidence, for His plans will always prevail.
Let us turn to the ancient wisdom found in Scripture. For the Bible is not a record of historical events, but the greatest psychological drama ever written. It reveals the pattern by which man may consciously rise to higher levels of himself. Be still and know that I am God. These words from the 46th Psalm contain the very essence of our discussion tonight. In stillness, in quiet, in the absence of effort, you discover your true identity as God, the operant power in the universe. I have often shared the story of my own discovery of this law. It was not through outward seeking, but through an inward journey. When I found myself in Barbados, having promised my family I would be with them for Christmas, but lacking the financial means to make the journey, I did not struggle outwardly. Instead, I lay upon my bed in New York City and transported myself in imagination to my family home. I slept in my childhood bed, heard the familiar sounds of the island, felt the tropical breeze upon my skin, and embraced my family members with joy. I lived from the end, experiencing in imagination what I desired to experience in reality, and within days, without any outer effort on my part, the means to make the journey materialize. This is the meaning of building yourself quietly. It is not about outer show or the approval of others. It is not about struggle or strain or sacrifice. It is about the quiet assumption of the state of consciousness that would be yours if you already possess what you desire. Consider the words of the Master. When you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. Your room is your mind. The door you shut is the silencing of your senses, and the Father in secret is your own wonderful human imagination, the creative power that brings forth all things. The open reward is the visible manifestation in your world. Tonight, I urge you to give up the belief that anything outside yourself has power over you. Give up the struggle to change outer conditions, for they are but reflections of your inner state. Instead, turn within. In the quiet of your own being, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Feel the naturalness of being the person you desire to be. Feel the reality of possessing what you seek to possess. Feel the relief, the satisfaction, the joy that would be yours if your desire were already an accomplished fact. The outer world may tell you this is fantasy, that you are deceiving yourself. It may point to evidence that contradicts your assumption. But I say to you, the evidence of your senses is but the harvest of past assumptions. If you would change the harvest, you must now sow different seeds in the fertile soil of your imagination. In this quiet building of yourself, persistence is essential. You must be faithful to your assumption. If, for example, you wish to be financially secure, you must not only assume the feeling of wealth in a single meditation, but must continue in that assumption as you move through your day. When doubts arise, as they inevitably will, gently bring your attention back to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. This is not self-deception. It is the highest form of truth. For what you are assuming is the only reality, and the outer world must reshape itself to conform to that inner conviction. Many fail in this work because they give up too soon. They assume the feeling of their wish fulfilled for a brief period, but then return to their habitual state of consciousness. Remember the parable of the fig tree. When the master cursed it, nothing appeared to happen immediately, but the tree was withered from its roots, though the evidence was not yet visible. So it is with your assumptions. The moment you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, your desire begins to move toward manifestation, though the outer evidence may not be immediately apparent. Let me share with you a letter I received just last week. A gentleman who had attended these talks wrote to me saying that for years he had struggled to advance in his profession. Despite his qualifications and hard work, promotion seemed always to elude him. After hearing our discussions on the law of assumption, he began each night before sleep to experience in imagination the congratulations of his colleagues on his new position. He felt the handshakes, heard the words of praise, experienced the satisfaction of his increased salary. He did this quietly, telling no one of his inner work. Within 2 months, a position was created specifically for him, a position that had previously existed in his company at exactly the salary he had imagined. He built himself quietly, and the outer world reshaped itself to match his inner assumption. This is the pattern. First, clarify your desire. Second, construct a scene which would imply the fulfillment of that desire. Third, immerse yourself in that scene until it takes on the tones of reality. Fourth, from that state of fulfilled desire, open your eyes to the outer world. And fifth, remain faithful to your new assumption regardless of contrary evidence. This is how you build yourself quietly. Now let us delve deeper into the nature of consciousness, for this is the material with which you build. Your consciousness is the only reality. All that you perceive outside yourself is but a manifestation of states within yourself. The people, circumstances, and events of your life are drawn to you by the magnetic power of your dominant assumptions. As within, so without. This is the great law. Many of you have been taught that your consciousness is limited, that you are merely human, separate from the divine creative power. But I tell you that your own wonderful human imagination is God in action. I and my Father are one, said the Master, and this is true of every man. The creative power that you attribute to a God outside yourself is your own imagination, and the world around you is nothing more than your own consciousness made visible. When you truly grasp this, you will understand why building yourself quietly is so powerful. For if all is consciousness, then by changing your consciousness, by assuming a new state, you literally become a new being. And that new being must express itself in your world. But how do you effectively change your consciousness? Through the controlled use of imagination while in a state akin to sleep. This state is quiet, receptive state where the senses are diminished and attention is focused inward, is where all creation begins. In this state, imaginal acts have a transformative power that they lack when you are fully awake and attentive to the outer world. Let me give you a simple technique to practice. Tonight, as you lie in bed preparing for sleep, clarify in your mind what you wish to be. Perhaps you desire to be confident, healthy, wealthy, or loved. Whatever it may be, formulate a scene that would imply this state has been realized. If health is your desire, imagine a friend congratulating you on your vibrant appearance. If prosperity is your aim, feel the satisfaction of seeing a bank statement with the figures that would delight you. Then, with your eyes closed, enact this scene. See it clearly, hear the sounds that would accompany it. Feel the emotions that would be yours in the fulfilled state. Do this until the imaginal scene takes on the feeling of reality. Then, still immersed in this feeling, drift off to sleep. In this way, you are building yourself quietly, impressing upon your subconscious mind the new concept of self. The subconscious does not argue or question. It simply accepts what you present to it in feeling, and then proceeds to express that state. This is why feeling is the secret. It is not enough to intellectually affirm your desire or to visualize it without emotion. You must feel the reality of the state desired. Feeling is the prayer, and prayer is answered when the feeling is absorbed by the subconscious. As you continue this practice night after night, you will notice subtle changes in your daytime experience. Opportunities that align with your desire will begin to present themselves. People who can assist you will be drawn into your life. Circumstances will arrange themselves to facilitate the expression of your new state of being. All of this will happen without your conscious effort or planning. This is the law in action. Remember, you are not creating something new. You are simply selecting and expressing a state that already exists within the infinite variety of states that comprise your complete self. In the realm of consciousness, all possible states of being exist now. When you assume a state in imagination, you are not creating it. You are occupying it, and by occupying it, you make it your own. This understanding frees you from the anxious striving that characterizes so much of human existence. You need not worry about how your desire will be fulfilled. The law itself contains the means of fulfillment. Your only responsibility is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and to persist in that assumption. The how is not your concern. Think of the acorn. Within it lies all the potential of the mighty oak. Yet the acorn does not worry about how it will become an oak. It simply rests in the soil, allowing the law of growth to operate through it. So it is with your desires. Plant them as seeds in the fertile soil of your consciousness. Water them with the feeling of reality, and they must grow into manifestation. This is law. I am often asked, but what are the desires of others? What if my desire conflicts with another's? The answer is simple. There is no competition in consciousness. What you desire for yourself, desire for others. See their fulfillment and happiness just as clearly as you see your own. In the realm of consciousness, there is infinite abundance. Your good does not come at the expense of another's, but adds to the expression of good in the world. This relates to another aspect of building yourself quietly, the importance of silence regarding your inner work. The Master advised, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth. There is wisdom in this counsel. When you speak prematurely of your intentions, or share your technique with those who do not understand the law, you often dissipate the energy of your assumption. The unbelief or skepticism of others can weaken your faith if you are not yet firmly established in your new concept of self. Furthermore, the very act of talking about what you are doing shifts your attention from the feeling of the wish fulfilled to the process of achieving it. And since attention is the tool with which you impress the subconscious, this shifting can delay the manifestation of your desire. So build yourself quietly. Keep your own counsel. Let your results speak for you. When others notice the changes in your life and ask how you accomplished them, then you may share this law, but even then speak only to those who have ears to hear. Let me share with you another letter, this one from a woman who had struggled with chronic illness for over a decade. After learning of the law of assumption, she began each night to experience herself as vibrantly healthy. She felt the energy flowing through her body, imagined herself engaging in activities that had long been impossible for her, and gave thanks for her perfect health. She told no one of this practice, not even her husband. Within 3 months, her condition had improved so dramatically that her physicians were astounded. Tests that had previously confirmed her illness now showed no trace of it. She had built herself quietly, and her body conformed to her new self-concept. This is not isolated or exceptional. It is the normal operation of law. What you believe, what you truly accept as real in the depths of your being, must objectify itself in your experience. According to your faith, be it done unto you is not a religious platitude, but a statement of psychological law. Now, some of you may be thinking that this sounds too simple, that something so powerful cannot be so easily accessible. But I ask you, must a thing be difficult to be true? The operation of this law is simple, though the discipline required to apply it consistently may challenge you. The challenge lies not in the technique itself, but in your willingness to persist despite appearances. For when you begin this practice, the evidence of your senses will contradict your assumption. Everything in your outer world will proclaim that your imaginal act is but fantasy. This is the testing point. Will you be faithful to the unseen reality of your assumption, or will you bow down to the evidence of your senses? Those who succeed are those who understand that the outer world is a shadow, a reflection of inner states. Just as it takes time for the fruit to appear after a seed is planted, so there is a psychological gestation period between your assumption and its visible manifestation. During this interval, you must persist in your assumption regardless of appearances. You must live from your desired state, not for it. Living from the end means that you do not look for your desire. You look from your desire. You see the world as you would see it if your desire were already fulfilled. The shift in consciousness from seeking to possessing, from wanting to having, is the essence of effective prayer. Prayer is not begging a power outside yourself to change your circumstances. Prayer is claiming in consciousness what is already yours in potential and feeling the joy of that possession before its physical manifestation. When you pray in this manner, assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are applying the highest form of creative power. This understanding transforms your approach to every aspect of life. You no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstances, but as the creator of circumstances. You no longer feel the need to manipulate others or force situations, for you know that by changing yourself within, you change your outer world without effort. Consider your relationships. If you wish to be loved, you must first assume the feeling of being loved. If you wish for recognition in your career, you must assume the feeling of being recognized. If you wish for abundance, you must assume the feeling of abundance. The outer manifestation follows the inner assumption with mathematical precision. This is why so many conventional approaches to change fail. They attempt to alter effects while leaving the cause consciousness unchanged. It is like trying to dispel darkness by fighting it with a stick. The only way to remove darkness is to introduce light. Similarly, the only way to remove an unwanted condition from your life is to introduce the opposite state in consciousness. If you are experiencing lack, do not fight against it or complain about it, for that only perpetuates the consciousness of lack. Instead, assume the feeling of abundance. If you are experiencing illness, do not focus on the symptoms, for that intensifies the state of illness. Instead, assume the feeling of perfect health. If you are experiencing conflict in a relationship, do not analyze the conflict or blame the other person, for that solidifies the state of conflict. Instead, assume the feeling of harmonious relationship. The technique is always the same. Identify the state you wish to occupy. Construct a scene that implies you already occupy. Immerse yourself in that scene until it feels real. And then, from that state, view the world. The degree of your success will be determined by the degree to which you can make your imaginal act feel natural. For imagination creates reality, but only when what you imagine is felt as real. And feeling is the result of self-persuasion. You must persuade yourself of the reality of your assumption until your whole being accepts it. This is the meaning of belief. Many fail because they try to imagine something they find impossible to believe. Start with something that does not overly challenge your sense of what is possible. As you experience success in these smaller manifestations, your faith in the law will grow, and you will be able to apply it to increasingly significant areas of your life. But whether your desire seems small or great in the eyes of the world matters not at all. The same law operates in every instance. The creative process does not know difficulty. It knows only law. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, the law begins to operate to bring about the conditions needed for the objective realization of your assumption. Let me emphasize again the importance of persistence. You must not take your desires out of the invisible realm prematurely. Just as a farmer does not dig up his seeds to see if they are growing, so you must not constantly check your progress or revise your approach based on outer evidence. The seed has been planted in consciousness. Your task now is to water it with continued assumption until it breaks through into visible manifestation. One of the most common reasons for failure is the tendency to switch back and forth between the new state and the old. Each time you return to the old state, you undo some of the work accomplished in assuming the new. You must make a clean break with the old state. You must die to the old man in order to live as the new. This is the true meaning of rebirth, to cease identifying with what you were and to fully identify with what you desire to be. I am sometimes asked about the nature of desire itself. If consciousness is the only reality, and if all states already exist within consciousness, then where do our desires come from? The answer is that desire is God's word knocking at the door of your attention. When you feel a genuine desire, it is evidence that the fulfillment of that desire exists now in the invisible realm and is seeking expression through you. So do not feel guilty about your desires or judge them by conventional standards of morality. All states are inherently divine, for they are all within consciousness, which is God. The only relevant question is, what state do you wish to occupy? Once you have made your choice, the means of fulfillment will flow naturally from your assumption of the state. This is why building yourself quietly is so powerful. In the silence of your own mind, free from the judgments and opinions of others, you can select the state that represents your heart's desire and occupy it through the controlled use of your imagination. And since imagination is the creative power, what you imagine with feeling must objectify itself in your world. Let me address another question that often arises: what of effort? What of action? There is a common misconception that this teaching encourages passivity. Nothing could be further from the truth. Action is an essential part of the expression of a state. But it must be the right kind of action that flows naturally from your new state of consciousness. When you have successfully assumed the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you will find yourself compelled from within to take certain actions. These actions will not be the strained efforts of someone trying to achieve a goal. They will be the natural behaviors of someone who already has achieved it. And these inspired actions lead effortlessly to the objective realization of your desire. A man who assumes wealth thinks differently, makes decisions differently, notices opportunities that the man assuming poverty would miss. A woman who assumes health moves differently, eats differently, responds to her body differently than the woman assuming illness. The actions flow from the state, not the other way around. So yes, you will act, but your actions will be determined by the state of consciousness from which they spring. First the assumption, then the actions appropriate to that assumption, then the outer manifestation. This is the sequence of creation. Let me share one more letter, this one from a man who had been seeking a very specific home for his family. For 2 years he had searched without success for a house that met all his criteria and was within his price range. After learning of the law of assumption, he began to experience in imagination the feeling of living in his ideal home. He imagined moving through the rooms, entertaining friends in the space, watching his children play in the yard. He did this each night as he fell asleep. Within weeks, a realtor called him about a property that had just come on the market. a property that matched his specifications precisely. What's more, the asking price was slightly below what he had budgeted. Upon inquiry, he discovered that the owner was someone he had met briefly at a social gathering months before. The transaction proceeded smoothly, and he is now living in the home he had so clearly imagined. Did this man find his ideal home because of luck or coincidence? By no means. He found it because he had assumed the state of already living there, and the law operated to bring the outer circumstances into alignment with his inner assumption. He built himself quietly, and his world reshaped itself accordingly. I tell you these stories not to impress you, but to impress upon you the reliability of the law. It works for all who apply it correctly, regardless of their background, education, or circumstances. It is no respecter of persons. The only variable is your ability to assume and maintain the feeling of your wish fulfilled. As we draw near to the conclusion of tonight's discussion, I urge you to test this law in your own experience. Do not take my word for it. Apply the principle I have outlined and judge by results. Start with something that matters to you, but does not evoke anxiety or doubt when you contemplate its fulfillment. As you gain confidence in the process, you can apply it to more significant areas of your life. Remember always that your consciousness is the one and only reality. Every state exists now in the depths of your being. When you assume a state, you are not creating it. You are selecting it from the infinite variety of states that constitute your complete self. And by dwelling in that state, by making it real through feeling, you bring it into expression. This is the meaning of the scriptural promise. All things whatsoever ye pray and ask for, believe that ye have received them, and ye shall have them. To believe you have received your desires, to assume the feeling of its fulfillment before its visible manifestation. This is the secret of effective prayer. Let me give you a technique to practice as you leave here tonight. Select one desire that you wish to realize. Formulate a scene which, if true, would imply the fulfillment of that desire. Perhaps it is a conversation with a friend in which they congratulate you on your good fortune. Perhaps it is the sight of a document that would confirm your achievement. Whatever it may be, make it as specific and as natural as possible. Then, tonight as you prepare for sleep, quiet your mind and body. Relax completely. Close your eyes and enact your imaginal scene. See it clearly, hear the sounds associated with it, feel the emotions that would be yours if it were actually happening. Do this until your scene takes on the feeling of reality. Then, with the feeling of fulfillment still present, drift off to sleep. Do this for several consecutive nights and watch for signs of its manifestation in your outer world. Remember that there may be a gestation period during which the seed you have planted grows beneath the surface. Do not disturb it with doubt or impatience. Water it with continued assumption until it breaks through into visible expression. In this way, you are building yourself quietly. You are using the creative power of consciousness to reshape your world from within. There is no force in the universe that can stop the manifestation of what you have planted in consciousness with feeling and faith. Let me close with these words. You are divine. You are the operant power in your world. All that you perceive outside yourself is nothing more than your consciousness objectified. Know this, apply this, live by this, and you will transform not only your own life, but the lives of all who come into contact with you. Go now in peace, but go with the awareness that you carry within you the power that creates and sustains the universe. Use it wisely, use it lovingly, and use it with the certainty that what you assume must objectify itself in your experience. This is law, and the law is sure. Build yourself quietly in the sacred temple of your imagination, for there and only there can true transformation take place. And as you transform yourself within, your outer world must correspond to that transformation. This is the promise and the proof of the law of assumption. And now, I have shared with you the principle by which I live. I have given you the key that can unlock any door in the mansion of your dreams. It is up to you to take this key and use it. For although I can explain the law, only you can apply it to your life. Remember that the time to act is now, not tomorrow, not when circumstances seem more favorable, but now in the quiet of your own mind. For the kingdom of heaven is within you, and the kingdom of heaven is the realm of imagination where all creation begins. If you have built castles in the air, your work need not be lost. That is where they should be. Now put the foundations under them. And the foundation is the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Feel now the reality of what you desire. And that feeling will build a bridge of incidents that will lead inevitably to the objectification of your assumption. Go now and build yourself quietly. Go with the confidence that what you have heard tonight is not theory but law, immutable, unchangeable law. And go with the awareness that you are more than you appear to be, that your imagination is the very workshop of God, and that through its proper use you can transform your life into a living testament to the creative power of consciousness. I leave you with this thought. What would you do? Who would you be if you knew you could not fail? Answer this question not with words, but with the feeling of your wish fulfilled. For in that feeling lies the seed of all creation. And the seed, once planted in the fertile soil of consciousness and watered with the feeling of reality, must grow into manifestation. This is the law, and the law is sure. Build yourself quietly and watch as the universe reshapes itself to accommodate the new you that you have created in the silence of your imagination. For what is imagined with feeling must become fact. This is not faith, it is law. And the law works with mathematical precision for all who apply it correctly. You are the operant power in your world. You are the God of your universe. Know this, apply this, like you will be as the master promised, the heir of all things, the true Son of God, co-creator with the Died One. For imagination is God in action, and through its conscious use you participate in the creative process by which all things come into being. Build yourself quietly and you build yourself surely. For the foundation of all creation is consciousness. And what you assume as true in consciousness must objectify itself in your world. This is the eternal promise, the everlasting covenant between God and man. And God and man are one, for God is your own wonderful human imagination.